Welcome to this video. Here we will show you how to use the equipment in the S-CCS lab to record an electroencephalogram. Let's start with the preparation. Before the subject arrives to the lab, we prepare the objects that you see in this picture. These are the gel, the syringe with tip, an alcohol pad, the ear clip for the ground electrode, a measuring tape, and adhesive rings to attach the EEG electrodes. To fill the syringe, or more syringes if you're not doing the subject preparation alone, simply open the gel and then fill the syringe. Then screw the syringe tip on top of it and clean it a bit with a paper towel. Don't forget to close the gel so it doesn't dry out. Usually you will also prepare some forms like consent and data privacy policy that you will give the subject to read and sign after they arrive. After that is done, we can proceed with the EEG cap. First we measure the head circumference. At the back of the head you can go a bit higher with the measuring tape than shown in the video here to really get the maximal head circumference. If it's right between two cap sizes, it is usually better to choose the smaller EEG cap. After that, we put the cap on the subject's head. To center it out, we first measure the distance between Indian and Nation and adjust that cap such that the CZ electrode is at exactly half of that distance. Similarly, we put the measuring tape at the pre-auricular point in front of each ear and center the CZ electrode between them, which was already the case here. Then we close the cap at the bottom and we use an alcohol pad to clean the 4 points where we want to place the EEG electrodes. It's best to ask the participants to close their eyes because the alcohol might burn in the eyes. We also clean the left earlobe and then use the ear clip to attach the ground electrode. We then stick the adhesive rings to the EEG electrodes and attach them around the eyes. The horizontal electrodes belong on the left and right of the midline of the eye, and the vertical EEG electrodes above and below the midline of the left eye. After all the EEG electrodes are attached, we put the cables under the cap so they don't obstruct the subject's field of view. We then connect the EEG cap to the amplifier. A1 goes to pin 1 and A2 goes to pin 2. Then you can turn on the amplifier with this little button on top, and you will know that it's powered on when seeing a green light on the side. Next, we open the software for impedance measurements. Therefore, we open the terminal on the EEG laptop, change to the directory shown here, and then run the software. We double-click the text file with the electrodes that we want to use, and the software opens. After that, we can apply the gel to the electrodes, and the goal is to get the impedance for all electrodes green, that is below 10 kilo ohm. Let's start with the ear. Here shown once more is that the ear is cleaned with an alcohol pad. Then we use the ear clip to attach the ground electrode to the left earlobe. We then fill the space between the earlobe and the electrode with gel and roughen the skin. We always start with the ground electrode on the earlobe and the reference electrode, which is C set in this system, because otherwise we won't get any better impedances. At the end, we fill up the electrode with more gel if necessary. It's the same process for EOG electrodes. We fill them with gel, roughen the skin, and fill them up with a bit more gel if necessary. To do the EEG electrodes on the head, we lightly press down on the electrode we're currently working on with the ring and middle fingers, and then fill in the gel. Afterwards, we push the hair aside and roughen the skin on the head a bit. To press down on the electrode with 2 fingers is important to prevent the gel from flowing out to the side if we put too much in there. This could result in bridges between electrodes, which we want to avoid. Excess gel then just comes back out from the top, and we can remove it with a paper towel. To send the data, we go back to the software on the EEG laptop, and here we choose the sampling rate, and then we click Stream EEG to LSL. Don't forget to click OK in this pop-up window, because otherwise it won't work. We then open another terminal and type LSL viewer to check the curves and do some demonstrations with the subjects, for example showing how artifacts are created. Now that we are sending data, we of course also need to record it. Therefore we switch to the recording laptop and open the LSL recorder and LSL viewer from the desktop. Since the viewer sometimes doesn't show the information on the left panel, we can also open another terminal, type LSL status, and there have the same information for the streams. After that, we fill in the relevant information in the recorder, which usually are the study folder where the files are saved, the task, run, and participant ID. Then we select the streams we want to record and simply click Start. The final step then is to present the stimuli to the subject. Therefore we switch to the stimulus PC, and in this case open MATLAB and run the script. Now that the experiment is running, we observe it and stop the recording after the task is over. Observing the session, we typically keep an eye on the event triggers on the top right, the EEG data on the bottom right, and stream information in the left panel of the stream viewer. A stream missing in the LSL stream status or a green stream turning red in the recorder are indicators that this one isn't recorded anymore, and you need to find out the reason and possibly restart the recording. And then if everything went well, to stop the recording, simply press stop in the recording software. After we're done with the experiments, we take the EEG cap off the participant's head and guide them to the bathroom to wash their hair. After that, we will clean the syringe and tip, the ear clip and the cap. Most equipment can be cleaned by just rinsing it a few times and or using the toothbrush. For the cap, we first carefully remove the gel with the toothbrush from the electrodes. Here you really need to make sure to not get water on the connectors of the EEG cap. After that, we use the oral irrigator to remove the gel from the small openings. We then again use the toothbrush for the ground and EOG electrodes. And finally, we rinse everything that's left off the cap. For disinfection, there are 3 steps. First, we disinfect all the surfaces, that is the desk, the button box and the chair handles. Second, we use another disinfectant for the leather of the chair. And third, we disinfect the cap. Therefore, we dissolve some disinfectant in water. We then dip the cap in there like 5 times and let it rest according to the concentration of the solution that we made. Information for the right amounts of disinfectant and water and the required time how long the cap needs to rest in there can be found on the bottle and in our wiki. And as a last step, if we need the cap again soon for another subject, we dry the EEG cap with a ventilator. The quickest way we found is to assemble this cap holder, then stick it into the ventilator and put the cap on it and turn on the ventilator. This way the drying takes 15 to 20 minutes instead of around 4 hours. And that's how we conduct EEG measurements in the CCS lab.